Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. We have lots of Lions stuff to talk about, lots of NFL stuff to talk about. We need to jump right in here. So before we do, though, Jacob, how you doing?
I'm all right, man. Constantly getting updates on Twitter, X,
Yes.
trying to stay relevant, trying to stay posting on there. It's hard for me, actually being at work most of the time to stay up on all of these updates. I was off today, so that was nicer. But what has that been like for you, working remote and being able to see everything on your phone?
Yeah, it's hard to not go to X every time I see a notification. One thing I did find super helpful, though, is ESPN has the live tracker, and basically the tweets just get updated on there, and I don't have to update it, just automatically comes up. It's a little bit delayed from X, like maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, but that's how I've been keeping up to date with everything. But yeah, it is nice. One time you and I both posted at the same time when Rodrigo come back, so apparently we were both really excited about Rodrigo coming back because we both quoted the same post, and I thought that was funny.
That was funny. It was right as I was on lunch. I got the news about Rodrigo. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I posted it. I hit submit, maybe 10 seconds go by, and then I get the notification that, like, oh, Talking Grit posted, but it was like not what I put. So then I went to our page. I was like, oh, Jason copying me now.
I know.
It was
Well,
like 10,
I put
15
something a
seconds
little
apart.
exactly. So before we get into the Lions stuff, I have two questions I want to ask you, Jacob. And I really, I don't want any reasoning of why you choose what you choose. We're going to let the episode speak for itself. But I just want to know right now, give me one or two words to describe how you feel about free agency in regards to the Lions. Don't give me justification. Just give me one or two words.
Underwhelming.
Okay. Now
That's the
give
word I'm
me
going
one or
with.
two words. Is that it? Okay. I like it. Mine would be status quo. That's just how I feel. All right. So give me one or two words to describe how you feel about the Lions roster right now.
I guess I'm just gonna say unsure. If I'm
Sure.
being honest, I'm just putting one word in there. I'm just gonna say unsure.
All right. I'm
For not
saying
giving any
in
reasoning about it,
progress.
but yeah, okay.
I'm going with in progress, but
That's
all
fair
right,
too.
man. Big news. Last episode we talked about Taylor Decker being back. This is a totally different. We got to talk about him again, but in a totally different context. He asked for his release. I'm going to ask, when you saw that, like that post, like what went through your head? Like, were it complete shock, or how are you feeling?
So my initial reaction, I did not get to read his post. I saw Twitter, everything on fire that, Decker is going to be leaving the Lions. Before I saw what he said, I kind of thought this may have been a move initiated by the Lions. Like maybe he took it upon himself to be like, I'm coming back for another season. And then the Lions had to talk to him and be like, hey, we kind of think we want to move in a different direction or something like that. So that's kind of what I thought initially. And then I saw what he posted on Instagram, like his message, kind of like how when he posted that he was going to be back, which kind of alluded to the fact where, seems like there were some contract negotiations, some pay cuts or things of that nature that they talked about, and they just couldn't agree to it. So he just asked to be cut, which is disappointing. But I mean, that tracks and makes sense for, what the Lions are trying to do. And I guess what he feels like he's worth right now. But what about you?
Yeah.
You saw the post right away, right?
I did. And I read I don't have Instagram, but I think someone posted the Instagram thing on Twitter. So that's why I saw it and read it. And yeah, you get to the part where, it talks about I was planning on coming back, battling with my teammates, and there was some unplanned negotiations or something to that effect, where it makes it sound like he thought he was just going to play, and the Lions said, "Not so fast. We need to talk about it a little bit," which is a shame that it had to end that way. Doesn't totally surprise me from a Lions perspective. They know his injury, so they know more than what you and I know, right? So our idea was like, if he's going to come back, then we're you and I have both said that it doesn't change our plans about drafting. We still would need to draft a tackle, and maybe by the end of the year, that tackle's ready to supplant Taylor Decker, and then Taylor Decker is going to retire. The Lions probably looked at it and said, hey, I guess if that's our plan, are we really want to pay this guy 21 million if, we're only planning on having him available half a year? I don't know. The door isn't totally closed yet. He hasn't signed with anyone. His decision maybe be like, you know what, screw the Lions. I'm not going to come back and play for less. I'll go sign with someone else. Well, if the market's not there for him to sign, I think, he's either going to, take a lot less or retire. I think there'll be opportunities out there for another team, but for Taylor Decker, you've been in one city for 10 years. Are you really going to want to pack up, play injured for a different franchise, learn everything new? He might have a change of reasoning and be like, you know what, I'll come back to the Lions and play for, half or whatever. I don't know. I don't think the door's closed just yet.
I thought the same thing as far as the retirement thing. I think that might still be on the table. I think once he sees what's out there, sees what other guys are getting, what teams are willing to offer him, with his age, his injury history, everything that's happening like that, I don't think he's going to get paid at or near what he was before. I think he's going to have to take a pay cut, which is, like you kind of said. I mean, if he was okay with taking a pay cut, he'd probably still be here right now. If he's willing to take a little bit less and still play, didn't seem like he's wanting to. Well, if he gets out there and finds out that no one's willing to offer him the money that he wants, then he's just going to retire. That's how I feel. I don't think he's going to play on like a small, unless a team offers him a decent sized contract. I don't think he's going to play on that. But I do think him posting that online and the Lions officially releasing him closes the door. I don't think he'll be back.
So? Yeah, I think it's likely that he's going to retire. I mean, if I had to put my money in anything, it's that as opposed to going into another team, because I don't think he's going to get the money that he probably thinks is probably worth it for him to come back. Last year was obviously a struggle for him. Didn't practice very much, and maybe the Lions looked at it this year like, man, if we're not going to have him in practice, maybe that's why our running game wasn't. We didn't gel. I know that you know, Jacob, and I agree too, but you really make a point all the time of saying, I want all five of my offensive linemen working together, you know, in a preseason game or, in practice all the time. And that's how they gel. And they just couldn't do that last year. And if it was gonna be if the Lions saw the writing on the wall that it was gonna be the same, maybe they decided, it's best to move on now. I still would like to have Taylor Decker on this team though, the way the team sets right now.
Well, maybe he'll retire, and then right before Thanksgiving, he'll announce that he's coming back for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and then and we don't need to go through that pain anymore. So the Lions, cut him. We saved 11.6 million in cap this year, and then he is accounting as of right now a $9.4 million dead cap. Now, when they released him, they did not designate him as a post June 1st, so it looks like they're going to just take the dead cap hit all this year. I don't know if they could change that designation now later on. I don't know. I think you have to designate it as you release them. So the starting offensive line is drastically changed from 2 seasons ago. Panay's the only holdover that we're going to have going into this season from 2 years ago, as it sits right now, unless, they re-sign Graham back. But the way that his post went, it sounds like that ship has sailed too. I don't know. I'm happy about it in some respect because obviously the offensive line needed a lot of work, but it also gives me a lot of trepidation. Like, you don't know how all these pieces are going to work together.
Exactly. Hence the unknown, unsure. Like, it's just, and we need to add more to the offensive line, right? We don't even know. We still don't know what it's going to look like. Hopefully we sign another player or two plus the draft, which we'll talk about in a little bit here, but not too much offensive line help on the way as of right now.
No, we'll talk about our signs and we'll get in there because Cade Mays obviously was our big one in there, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, before we get there, Jared Goff restructured his contract, which allowed us to get under the salary cap today. People were freaking out about this. I don't understand. Like on Twitter, like, why hasn't it happened yet? They thought it felt like there was a bunch of conspiracy theories about it, and I was like, it literally doesn't have to happen until Wednesday at 4:00. Why would they, restructure this? They're probably waiting to see how much they spend, and then they'll know how much they have to do. Were you freaking out about it at all?
No, But I think the reason for people freaking out is that it was always just such a foregone conclusion that we were going to be restructuring him to make this cap space. I think that everyone thought that we were going to, they thought the Lions were going to restructure to make as much possible space as they can right now. And that's not what they did, right? They left a certain amount right now that changes the cap hits for the next couple of years, adds a void year, but it doesn't exactly make it, as catastrophic the next couple of years as it could have been, right? Because we could have converted even more of that salary into a bonus. We could have made more, cap hits later in the future. They're trying to be a little bit smarter about it because obviously his cap hits the next few years are just as large as this year. So, I think that there was more to it than like, yeah, let's just click this button and we'll give him all this money up front and then we'll have all this space and then we'll get Max Crosby and we'll get all these guys and, all these high profile, that's just what most of these fans seem to want.
Yeah, exactly. So, as Jacob kind of alluded to, we converted 40 million of his base salary into a bonus, and then we added a void year. So basically, 8 million so we opened up 32 million of space this year because of 40 million minus the 8 million that goes from his bonus structure throughout the 5 years. But as Jacob said, 2027 cap hit. Next year's cap hit, as it stands right now, is 62.6 million. 2 years from now is 69.6 million. Now, if they keep having record increases, and I think in 2028 you're going to have the new TV contract, so you're going to have a huge increase. So those cap hits are going to be large, but they'll be less of a percentage than what we would have faced this year. And essentially, when they do this, they're taking a loan on the player, and the player gets all the money right now, but we're spreading out these payments over the life of the contract. And we added another void year so that when this contract's over, 16 million is still going to count against the cap after this contract's over. So if Goff were to leave, that 16 million is obviously a dead cap hit. If he stays and signs an extension, then we have to work that 16 million in somewhere into the next contract, and we could spread it out even further. The cap's real. We're going to, you have to pay that at some point, but we're just spreading it out, and at some point it's not going to increase in record space every year, year after year after year. At some point, that's just not going to happen.
Right.
Real quick, Dan Pask, I want to say, what's up? He said, he's talking about Taylor Decker. I'm sad the way it ended, but if Panay is going to move to left tackle, drafting a tackle in the first 2 rounds, allow that move to happen ahead of the season. Taylor staying would have stopped it. And probably, yes, I agree. As far as, them moving Panay over to left tackle or whatever, but I still would have liked to have just the veteran presence of Taylor in there for another year. But there are some benefits. We can just move on and plug some in there. But it does worry me because I don't want to have to draft someone that we know is going to have to start.
Right. We don't want that pressure of them immediately being thrown to the wolves.
Exactly. And then, all of a sudden, now you're going to move Panay. If you move Panay to the left, so now you got Ratledge playing against a brand new tackle over there. Taylor, Tate's second-year player. It makes it a little rougher, but hopefully Tate has a huge second-year jump, and that side of the line will be good to go. You ready to move on to who the Lions signed or
yeah? Let's get
didn't
through
sign?
with right.
All right, I'll let you start. We're going to start with the players the Lions signed. So go ahead, Jacob.
So the biggest one, the most noteworthy, we signed center Cade Mays from the Panthers. Gave him 3 years, $25 million. He is 26 years old. Pro Football Focus graded him out as 62.4 last year. Not exactly top 5, but this is somebody with center experience. Just for reference, Glasgow is 33. So Cade Mays, we're already getting younger, and then Glasgow's Pro Football Focus grade was 56.8. So we're getting a little bit younger, a little bit better. And you also have to remember that Panthers team, struggled a lot for a lot of the year. So maybe having a different, line, different people around, maybe the center play is going to be a little bit better, different scheme and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But real quick, just before we move on, just what are your overall thoughts? Because obviously Linderbaum was the huge one, right? That's what everybody wanted. That's what everyone had their eyes set on. And then Linderbaum signs for $27 million a year. And then everyone's hoping for McGovern or Biadasz, and then McGovern re-signs with the Bills. Biadasz signs with the Chargers for average of $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of felt like if we want a center, we've got to make this move. Cade Mays is the logical next one on the list. And then sure enough, not too long after that, the Lions announced a deal with him for an average of $8.3 million a year. So, a third of the price of Linderbaum, less than a third of the price of Linderbaum.
His whole contract is cheaper than 1 year of Linderbaum. So
yeah,
I'm happy with it. Obviously, Linderbaum would have been the home run, but not worth edge money. I mean, that's what you're paying him. You're paying a guy that plays out on the edge on tackle money up front. So, and the Lions didn't have the space to have that luxury. And like you said, McGovern was the guy that I want. He obviously decided to return to the Bills, didn't even reach free agency, so that was not going to happen. Biadasz would have been all right. He did end up getting $10 million a year. So at the point where we were, to get Cade Mays was good because it's a huge drop off after that. We're either looking at drafting or moving Tate over, or looking for just out of the box options. And to get Cade Mays for $8.33 million, I'm okay with that. That was a good way to spend the money. He's young. He's already going to be, I think, an upgrade over Glasgow. He's obviously younger. He's got room to improve too. He doesn't have a ton of experience at center, which at some point is not good. You're like, I want someone with a lot of experience. But from another standpoint, you're looking at, he's got room to grow, and Hank Fraley can get him going. So I do like getting younger on the line. I think that's good. The guy looks like a mauler, but his pass blocking grade is better than his run blocking grade. So that's something we'll have to watch during the season.
Yeah, he started his college career at Georgia too. So these Georgia offensive linemen we're trying to build over here in Detroit.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it was just the next best option and the bargain deal. And when you do this, then you don't have to have that. If we didn't sign a center, if we didn't get a center, then you have to have that real discussion about moving Tate over again. And I think them signing one really solidifies the fact that they did not want to have to move Tate Ratledge over to center.
Right.
I know they talked, they were kind of up and down about it. Like, he didn't really do a bad job or anything like that. But I mean, it's not ideal, right? It wasn't ideal. Now we've got somebody with center experience, young. We're going to hope for the best here, right?
Yes. I mean, I'm hanging my hat on this was the sign. I mean, obviously we weren't like going crazy in free agency, so we don't have like a lot to choose from. But when this happened, I felt good right away because it happened on Monday. All right, we made a signing, got someone that I'm okay with. And it solidified also right guard, like you said. Tate can be there. I mean, Justin Rogers projects him to be possible Pro Bowl right guard. And I want to keep that guy there. I want to keep him there. If we can improve. I mean, the whole thing is we need to improve over last year. And yes, we lost Taylor Decker, so we got to figure out the tackle spot. But we did improve up the middle by getting Cade Mays, in my opinion, this year. So that's good. It was a good start to free agency. Wasn't the only offensive lineman that we signed. Did sign a tackle, Larry Boram from the Dolphins. He's only played right tackle. He also is 26 years old, so he's young. His PFF grade from last year was 60.7, whereas Taylor Decker was 67.9. Do you think, is Boram our answer? If he's going to be a right tackle, we move Panay over, or is he our swing tackle? What's your feeling on that signing, Jacob?
I was going to ask you that same exact question because I don't know what the plan is for him right now. I think that he just gives you a little bit maybe of versatility. Obviously, he's only played on the right side. If the move is to put Panay over to the left, regardless, then whoever, assuming that we draft a tackle round one or like pretty high, then, you don't have to throw him out there right away. You possibly have this guy to compete, a little bit more of a veteran presence. That's the thing that's kind of underwhelming about free agency is that, this was not any sort of like a home run hit. Right? This is kind of just like, okay, we're on first base. We're going to see what happens with this. There's no guarantee that we're going to score. But I think the contract details have not come out yet either, right? I mean, I'm sure he's got a very, very small contract. It's not like we're offering him a lot of money either.
Yeah, no. When the contract details don't come out, like a lot of the Lions contract details hadn't come out, it means the agents sound like super happy, proud about it. So they're not throwing it out there because like Pacheco's didn't come out for like a whole day, and we'll get to his details. And so I think of Boram's the same way. As of right now, he might be our starting tackle, but I think that, probably whoever we draft is going to move in there. Or, someone gets cut and we sign a veteran at some point. But, if you're a Lions fan, the way this team is built right now, this is the type of stuff you're going to expect the first week of free agency. Free agency is not over, guys. Like, there's going to be the second wave of people getting cut, moving around. That's when the Lions will really go shopping. Right now, it's like trying to find the best deals. Like Cade Mays was a really good deal. All those other guys, those huge. I mean, Linderbaum, like I said, 27 million just destroyed the record for a center per year. Like that's the type of contracts that happen you know, this week of free agency. You're overpaying for a lot of guys. When we get down to what our NFC North rivals are, do, the Vikings spent so much money last year, and now they've dropped almost half the guys that they signed last year because they're way over in the cap. And now they're going to pay all this dead cap money. They're in trouble. Lions don't want to play like that. It can be frustrating, and I do find it frustrating that it'd be nice to open the Christmas present underneath the tree, right? I want a big, the big gift, the gift that, I want to open up Max Crosby. He's sitting under my Christmas tree, put him at, edge, and then that would be super exciting. But it's not likely going to happen, for a while here, the way the lines are built right now.
What would be your level of disappointment if this was it for like the tackle, the offensive line? If we did not sign
I'd be,
another tackle until right before training camp.
yeah.
So like let's say we don't sign anybody else. I mean, it's got to be somebody that we draft. But I mean, just speaking on free
Yeah.
agency terms, like if we don't end up signing anybody else before the draft.
Before the draft, I'd like, I don't know. I got to be honest
There's a
with you.
lot of
I'm
names
not,
out there. There's a lot of people available.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to really worried about it until we get to training camp because there are going to, I won't say till training camp, but after the draft, there's another wave of free agency right after the draft when you go through and see what you got. And I think the Lions at that point will, they'll make a move if they don't get in the draft. Now, we draft a tackle in the first round, depending on who we get. I'm going to pencil that guy in as a starter, and hopefully, he's ready to come in right away. And then I won't be too worried about it because we did sign Boram. He has starting capabilities. He started in the NFL, so at least we have that. I wouldn't be surprised they bring Jamarco Jones back or something like that. Who they plan on him being the next tackle. He was tackle 3 last year before he got hurt. So, and then obviously we got Manu, which I'm not banking too much on him, but he still is on our team. And we'll see if he's in the plans or not. But what about you? Are you freaking out if this is how we go in after the draft, or can you be patient with it?
There's too many veterans out there. I feel like we've got to get somebody else. And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be tomorrow, but I mean, we've got to add somebody now. I don't want it to be after the draft. I don't want it to be one of those things where depending on how the draft goes is that, what angle that we look at. I don't want it to be like a camp body or something like that because I think that there's guys out there right now that can add value to the team even if they don't start. They've got the veteran stuff though. They can help out with a rookie. They can slot in when needed. There's guys like that out there. So, I would
Yeah.
be disappointed if we just didn't go with anybody else.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of how many roster spots there are for offensive linemen. I mean, you got the wild card of Manu. Is he going to make it? Scruggs, who we got in the David Montgomery trade. He's backup center, has guard capabilities, but he's also not guaranteed a roster spot. So I mean, you do have some flexibility there. I'm going to be patient with it, but I also understand from your perspective and from a team building perspective, I'd rather not go into the draft going, we have to draft a tackle in the first round because number one, if the outside perception is that, then people could jump us, or we may feel the need to jump up and get who we want as opposed to getting the best player available. It's an interesting thought. I don't know. It depends on who's out there. I don't want to like give some guy a contract and then just eat dead money. Because if we draft, get a player in the first round, and then we're sitting with this veteran that we're paying money on the bench. But I guess I'd have to see who it is.
Right.
Before we get to our re-signings, let's talk about the running back. Isaiah Pacheco came in. Uh, Before you saw the numbers or the contract, what was your thought when you saw Pacheco sign with the Lions?
I was okay with it. I was like, okay, this guy, I knew that he's coming off the injury, but this guy has potential to be a battering ram, and he also can break one off every once in a while. And we just need kind of a change of pace. Obviously, we've committed that we're going to be giving Gibbs the ball a whole lot. So you just need somebody for short yardage situations or every once in a while to give him a breather. And I think Pacheco matches what that's supposed to be.
I agree. I saw the contract too, and I was like 1.8 million. I mean, there might be some, but I bet you there's got to be some like bonus structure in there that they haven't put out there.
Yeah.
But 1.8 million, you figure we got him cheaper, obviously, than Monty, and we got 4th and 7th round pick. Now, I think Monty would be better. However, this could be one of those buy low. I mean, Pacheco's betting on himself. He's hoping that he comes in here, has a good year, and then he parlays us into a bigger contract next year. Before we move on, I reached out to Seth Kezor. He runs Chief in the North, which is like a newsletter on Substack. He also reports on the Chief. So I asked him, I'm like, give us some information on Pacheco. So I'm going to read what he wrote, and then so you guys can have a little insight to someone from that knows him a lot better than we do, at least as of right now. He's a wonderful locker room guy, energy guy, absolutely beloved by his teammates, plays incredibly hard. Sounds like a Lions, right? Sounds like a Lions player right there. The problem for him is that he never recovered from his explosion after injuries. And because he's not an RB who plays with great vision, it really hindered him in the last several years. He was never an elite RB in terms of explosion speed, but had just enough and ran hard enough that he was able to be an NFL average running back. Without an explosion, he wasn't there. Hopefully, he regains it. Reliable in pass protection at this point overall. Good effort there. Not a tackle breaker in space the last several years. So there's your concern, and that's why he's available for 1.8 million. He's had a couple injury riddled years the last 2 years. He's lost his explosion. Hopefully, recovering from that, he gets that back. I get it though. Get it. What the Lions of Vision RB2 now isn't David Montgomery. It's the guy that we get in the field for the 8 to 10 snaps a game. And we're hoping for short yardage that we could get him, he'll get in the end zone or he'll get the first down. There are concerns with that though, right, Jacob? I mean, I've seen the stats about they didn't use him in the goal line last year. They used Kareem Hunt. So I don't know.
Right. He also has been battling injuries, so who knows how much that has to say with that. But I mean, for 1 year, 1.8 million, that's chump change. Really, that's like, such a small amount. That's not even necessarily have to keep him on the team. You could cut him in training camp if it wasn't going well.
Right. I like the signing. I'm okay with it. I would have liked Algier, but he's got like 6 million. So they saved money going this year. It's one of those things that, we're low risk. I don't think it's necessarily high reward, but you're hoping that he could just toe the rock enough, get those 4th and 1 situations that, we like to go for, get the first down. He was 8 for 8 on short yardage, like 3rd and 1 shorter, but they didn't use him in the goal line. So I see what the Lions want to use him for. I think it's okay. It is interesting though. We are going to be putting a lot of miles on Gibbs. Does that concern you at all? Like,
yes,
going in,
we've talked about that. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I liked what we had going on. I liked being able to give him a breather and extend his season, extend his career, make sure he stays healthy. He's not out there too much. I thought we had the perfect recipe, and Lions feel otherwise.
Right. I'm right there with you. I'm beginning to think like I don't know if I would sign. I love Gibbs and I think he's explosive, but I also worry about putting all this mileage on him. It's like I almost think, if we got him for this year, obviously next year, 5th year for the 5th year option, and then we could franchise him and still be cheaper than probably what we're going to sign him. It's almost like we could have 3 more years. I am not in a hurry to sign Gibbs to another contract this year, to be honest with you. I just not, just because of the running back position. We saw what we have with the Leam. We signed him early, and then he got injured, and we basically lost a year from that. I It does concern me, and it's mostly just that position. So I don't know if I'm in as a hurry to sign Gibbs as the teammates seem to be, or as other people want him to be. I think that I'd be better off letting him go 3 years and after the franchise, and then go from there. But do you have any thoughts on that?
I think the only benefit of signing him early is that you beat Bijan's contract, and then hopefully you save a little bit because Bijan, when he signs, is going to be whoever signs last is going to get more than the other guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it's shaping up to be right now. That could only be, $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, or something you don't know yet. But I think that'd be the only benefit is beating him to the punch and getting that contract done early. But yeah, I mean, running back, the durability and everything, the way the position is played anymore, that's a real problem. You can't really count on them to be, having 10-year career and being able to perform at that high of a level.
Yeah. Well, and also with Gibbs, like I mean, I would not say Gibbs has elite vision. I would say, he does have good vision, but I would not say he has elite vision. And my fear is if he ever has a leg injury and he loses some of that top end speed, then he becomes a lot less dynamic. And then you start to worry about that. And then there's going to be a huge fall off. I'm not wishing that. I don't think I hope that doesn't happen, but
Knock on
you
wood, you
have to
put
think
those
about it.
words back in your mouth.
Yeah, sorry. Nothing I said has anything to do with that. That's going to happen on the field, believe me. All right. 3 resignings. First one I already mentioned, Rodrigo's back 1 year. As far as I know, the numbers haven't come out on that. I doubt it's very high. We signed Teddy Bridgewater, which was that surprising that we got Teddy back?
It was surprising. I mean,
I
it,
did
it
not have
made
that on my
sense,
bingo card.
but yeah, it made sense, but still surprising. I did not expect
we all
it
went
to come up.
in. Yeah, I think we all went in thinking Kyle Allen's just going to come back. That's the way I felt, at least. I didn't think he was going to be that expensive, but it worked out that. Do you think the plan was always to bring Teddy back, and that's why Kyle signed somewhere on Monday, or agree to a contract on Monday? Obviously, couldn't sign then, or do you think that we pivoted after Kyle Allen left, and then
I
we
think
said, "Hey,
Kyle
Teddy,
Allen left for more money, and we were like, you know what, Teddy, you're out there. You already know the system. You've been, just come back."
yeah, yeah." It's quarterback 2. If we get to quarterback 2 during the season, we're going to be worried no matter who's in there. I don't think Teddy is going to be winning us ball games for the quarterback 2 position. However, I think from everything else, the intangibles, as far as like film study, being a good teammate, that's probably an upgrade over Kyle Allen. In my feel uh, in my opinion. So I am happy about it from that standpoint. It's not like Kyle Allen was going to develop into anything over here. He's thrown 3 passes in the last 3 years of the NFL. And I remember last year talking so much about it, quarterback 2. And with Jared Goff, he's so durable that it's like, why do we even waste our breath? But I guess we got to come up with content. So that's why we talk about it. A lot of it was Hendon Hooker, though, too, right?
Well, that's, what I was just going to say is what's interesting to me is like, I can't picture Teddy Bridgewater playing an entire preseason game either. There's no need to. So
Yeah.
do we draft a quarterback late in this draft? Do we just have 2 undrafted free agent quarterbacks that come in for camp and are, just showing what they have and like earn a spot on the practice squad? That part is going to be weird for me. But there's no need for Teddy Bridgewater to play an entire preseason game. It just, it doesn't benefit anybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he needs to get out there and play. I mean, he didn't play. I don't know how many games he got into last year with the Buccaneers, but
I feel like
it'd
he
be
only
nice
played
to
one.
get him some in there. But he doesn't need to play extensive amounts. I mean, he's got plenty of NFL experience. All right, I want to get to the re-signing that I'm most excited about, and I'm sure that you're most excited about. That's Rockison coming back 1 year, $4 million. That was a huge relief on many levels. How did you feel when you saw that pop through?
Oh, yeah. I was happy. I mean, obviously, Rock played pretty well last year for us. It was nice to be able to get him back. Also, not for like a gigantic pay increase either. But, also just adding a re-signing was great, because for a while there, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, we were losing everybody. And it wasn't necessarily like, that we thought that everybody was going to stay. Half those people were not all that surprising, but when all of them are leaving and we don't have anybody re-signing, that's when you're kind of like a little concerned, like, okay, what's going on here? We've got to get some of these guys back.
Yep.
And Rock was a big one to get back. He played pretty well. Obviously, cornerback is a position where we need more depth. Terrion and Ennis Rakestraw having the injuries that they've had. DJ Reed was hurt for a little while last year. Just good to have Rock back.
Yes. Gives us a little stability. He's going to come in, obviously, as cornerback 3, assuming Terrion, is there for the full season. DJ Reed should be, back, no problem. Get him for $4 million, gets a little pay bump, but I'm okay with it. It gives us that stability, and I'm happy for him too. He's been on like 5 different teams in 5 years or whatever. Finally, he gets to come to us, and he earned a pay bump, and I'm happy for it. And we need, obviously, we showed last year that we need a lot of depth in the cornerback room, so I was happy for him to come back. All right, Jacob. So we signed all those. I think that when you talked about us losing free agents, as we're going to talk about right now, it wasn't the fact. Yeah, it was like the fact that they kept, people kept leaving. Like I didn't think Alex was coming back. Amik was not a huge shock because I thought he was going to be priced out of what we wanted to pay for him. But it was the Kyle Allen, Roy Lopez leaving that it was like it just keeps adding. And then not only is it adding that people are leaving, then it creates a hole on our roster that we got to replace with someone too. And so that made it a little more nerve wracking for me. So let's talk about who we lost. Obviously, Alex signed with the Buccaneers. He's from Florida. It made sense that he goes down there. I was so glad he didn't end up in the Bears. I didn't want to face Alex 2 times every year. Gets $8.5 million a year, so 2 years, $17 million. Does that contract seem about right for Alex, you think?
I think that it does. But that's the thing that kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense, is it seemed like he was mad that he wanted to get a huge pay increase, right? I mean, he felt like we had that whole kind of weird thing last year. Let me see. I don't have it right in front of me right now. How much was he making? He was making about six or 7 million a year with us.
Yeah.
And now he's making 8 million with the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So he's gotten a small pay increase. I think that checks out. And that was one that we all, I mean, even though it was not off of the table, it always felt like Alex was not going to be back. To me.
I agree. Even though we just started doing commercials for Sam Birdstein on FanDuel, I noticed.
Yeah.
I have my Preston, my oldest, is like, why is he doing that? He's not even really on the team right now. It was weird. But Amik signs with the Commanders, 2 years, $16 million. That would have been definitely out of the Lions price range. I think that's why he chose to move on. Does this one hurt Amik leaving?
I was just gonna say, I really like Amik, so it does kind of hurt because I want him back. But at the same time, when you talk about how much money he's getting, that part's like, man, do you think that he earned that? I mean, obviously the Commanders have been spending a lot of money. They're throwing money everywhere. So
yeah. Well, I think part of it is like it's hard to judge Amik on last year because they had him playing like he should be playing nickel, and they got him playing, on the number 1 wide receiver every week at certain points last year. And Amik is all right. And I mean, in that position, and he's locked down Justin Jefferson. We've seen him do it before, but to ask him to do that week after week was a huge ask for the Lions. I mean, it was necessary. So I don't know if his numbers actually bear out, but obviously their team see it and they gave him a raise. And he's I don't know what they're going to have him playing there. If they're going to have him play nickel or outside corner, because Sanders still is their nickel. So I don't know if they're going to move Sanders still out and keep Meek at nickel, or I'm curious.
Maybe move Sanders still to safety. Might be on the table or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the Commanders yet again throwing money at everybody. So
yes. Yeah. Well, they had a year last year and a very aging roster too. So they, spent some money. The next guy that we lost was Roy Lopez. I know that we both wanted to have back. So that one hurt when I saw that he left. Went back to Arizona though. And I'm wondering if the Lions offered him money and he's from Arizona. And I wonder if he just wanted to go back back home.
Yeah, I mean, his contract was not like huge. He was getting like $5 million a year for the Cardinals, though, which was more than he got here. Correct? I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I still think everyone.
He got $4.5 million last year.
So I mean, everyone's getting a slight pay increase. I think that he played up to that in the limited time that he had here. So yeah, that one really stung. That was one that I really wanted to get back, and I thought we were going to be able to get that done. But like you said, if he's from Arizona and he kind of just wanted to be there, obviously the Cardinals team is not in a better position than the Lions team is right now, but gets a little bit of a pay increase to go back home. So can't fault the guy for that.
Nope. Kyle Allen, who I already said, signed with the Bills. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Khalif Raymond signing with the Bears. Going to the Bears obviously has a little, added oomph to it, right? So are you sad to see Khalif go? Does him going to the Bears add anything to you, or what you feel about that?
Yeah, I didn't want him to go to the Bears. But, obviously Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall L., that also, it makes sense. If we weren't going to bring him back, that makes sense for him to want to go to the Bears and go with, familiar people and, where he knows what kind of role he's going to have, how he's going to be used. Sucks to lose Khalif because he has been with us for so long and, he's been a part of that wide receiver room. Would it be impossible to upgrade off of Khalif? No. I think that we're going to be able to, find somebody and upgrade in the return. And obviously his snaps on offense were kind of dwindling anyway. So that's one, it sucks because I didn't want to lose him. It sucks because I didn't want him to go to the Bears. But if that was the only one, it's like, okay, you know what? I see it. I can live with it. But
yeah,
Anzalone, Robertson, Roy Lopez, Kyle Allen, Khalif Raymond. I shared that Anchorman gif with you. It's like, son of a bee sting. It's like, oh my gosh, like what?
I'm okay with Khalif going. I really am. I like what he added. Obviously, he was a dynamic punt returner. However, I think we could get that. I think Dortch is the guy from Arizona. He still hasn't signed. I think we're going to be able to sign him probably cheaper than we got Khalif. He's familiar with Petsing. Either that or I don't know if Dortch, I think he might return kickoffs too, but I just want to upgrade both. I mean, I don't know if we could upgrade punt returner in itself, but I want to stay even there and then also increase our kick return game. And I think Dortch is younger. I think that's just the way to go. I'm okay with it. Are we punting to Khalif when we're playing with the Bears? Are Jack Fox going to just boot it over his head? Or are we going to coffin corner it? It'll be interesting to see because Khalif is going to want to return one on us.
Right.
But, Khalif showed that he can't return kicks. He was too small. He kept getting injured. He just, he would got a concussion the one time. I'm okay with it. This is the one that I was like, okay. The only thing I don't like is him going to the Bears. Now we're going to have to face him 2 times a year. And then it adds to the, thing of everyone just wants to be with Ben Johnson. No, I think, Khalif just, Ben knows what he had with Khalif, but I don't think Khalif's opportunities are going to be drastically different in Chicago than they were in Detroit, unless an injury happens or anything like that.
Right. Maybe not, but I mean, that could be a part of the plan they were talking to him about. Maybe they do want to put him back in the offense. He knows Ben Johnson's offense and everything like that, some trick plays and different things. So, we'll find out.
He's obviously get him in the open field, good with reverses and stuff like that. Get him in the open field and he's dangerous. That's for sure. So after all that, Jacob, now we got some openings. We definitely need edge. We cut Josh Pascal today too. I guess, we didn't lose him free agency, but we released Josh Pascal. I'm assuming they didn't release him. At least they didn't say with an injury designation, but that's what I'm going to just assume. That's, that he just wasn't going to be able to come back. So we really don't have an edge at all. So I am worried about that. So going into the draft, Dan Pask asked a question, and I'm going to ask you, does it have to be a tackle or an edge with our first 2 picks? Can we go any other route?
No, we can't. If we went in the draft tomorrow, no, we can't. Yeah. Right? I mean,
I agree.
There's still edge defenders out there. There's still offensive tackles out there. We have not signed any of them yet.
Yep.
Is that, a concern to you that, obviously today's the first official day of the league year, but I mean, we're 3 days in and we have not made any splashes. Like, I mean, we addressed the center position. That was a huge one. So we addressed that. That was good. That was positive. But then, I mean, if you look at like our top 5 positions of need, the center was one of them, probably the number one. At least there's that. But we need safety help. We need cornerback help. We need edge. We need offensive tackle. We did not sign any of them. And we lost a Meek in free agency. It's kind of frustrating. I mean, there's still plenty of time. There's, it'll be way different as the draft happens and everything. The roster is going to look different. But it's frustrating when everybody around you is getting better. Everyone else is making moves, some big, some small. Some of these are like decent contracts that they're offering people. It's like, man, we could have got that guy for that much money. So it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. The edge position, I mean, I wasn't a huge guy that was worried about edge last year, although I probably should have been. But I feel like we need to have something out there. We're going to be our depth is going to be so bad if we don't go out and sign some of these guys. And I don't like going into the draft locked into like those we have to the positions that we have to draft. I just don't like that feeling. And I'm also scared because I don't think that Brad Holmes necessarily feels that way. Like, well, I'm going to just draft. If there's a linebacker he likes in the second round, he might go ahead and do that. And then, then we're worried about edge. There's still plenty of like some of the linebacker stuff could be done with like the edge stuff with scheme. We could get a linebacker that could play edge or, as a rushing linebacker that might play out there. So there's a lot of things that we could still do. And there's, like Cade Ellis is still out there. And that's the guy that I keep wanting to sign.
Ellis
I'm hoping
signed.
that we get him. Huh?
Ellis signed somewhere.
Oh, did he sign?
I don't remember where, but I know that he
Okay.
signed somewhere.
Okay. I did not see that.
Because he was somebody that I had looked at too.
Okay. Well, that's
Saints.
unfortunate.
He went to the Saints.
Saints
$11 million a year.
All right. Well, it's probably more than I wanted to spend on him anyways, but it might have been, worth it. I don't know. I don't like the way I don't feel really comfortable with where we're at right now with our roster. We have a long time to go. And some of it's just impatient. I want it done. But free agency just started. The second wave will happen going in from this weekend and on. And then there'll be a lull period until the draft. So maybe we'll feel better this time next week, Jacob.
I hope so. I'm not banking on it, but I hope so. There's a lot of names still out there. I mean, there's a lot of people still out there. There's a lot of moving parts. Who know? I mean, obviously, I'm sure Brad Holmes spending a lot of time on phone calls and talking to agents and trying to figure out what he can do. So there are things in progress. There's things in work. They're just not happening. We're not sealing the deal just yet.
Are you interested in bringing DJ Reader back at all?
Before free agency, before everything started, I kind of just assumed that he probably was not going to be here and that we were going to be moving on. But now we lost Roy Lopez, so that changes things a little bit there. I also don't, because I felt like we were probably good at defensive tackle. I don't know who's out there, that would be a huge increase, I guess, over DJ Reader. I know.
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk about it later. What was it? Hargrave got cut from Minnesota and then right away signs with Green Bay.
He wasn't that good last year with Minnesota, so that doesn't really move the needle for me at all. I'm not overly excited about getting DJ Reader back because I think that he's probably wants to command more money than what I think the value, because I think that we want him. Tyleek is going to be the starter next year. I mean, I think that's, if he's not, and DJ Reader was starting over him, then I think that draft pick would really worry me. I think Tyleek, I've concerned a little bit about Tyleek's work ethic I'm hoping that he's, is in shape and all that stuff. I like the disruption. I do like that he gets his hands up and knocks down the pass. I love that dynamic about him. He's very good at doing that. Like if you're going to take out double teams, it's great to be able to knock down a pass because you're not getting to the pass rusher. I mean, ideally, we got Aleem coming back at full speed. He is, be able to get to the pass rusher. Tyleek is doing the DJ Reader role where he's taking out double teams, splitting double teams, taking on the runner. We're not expecting that much pass rush from Tyleek. Where does that leave DJ Reader? I mean, you're going to have him for snaps. We definitely have snaps open because you're not going to have Tyleek and, Aleem taking 90% of snaps. That's just not going to happen. You're going to have rotation. We got Wingo in there, right? Like, we don't know was inactive. He was, definitely available for games, but inactive for a lot of games. So I don't know what to expect there. You got like Chris Smith. You got the retreads back in there.
It's
We're
not a
gonna need
great
to
look for
sign someone.
Wingo to be like a healthy scratch and to be like inactive, even though I don't think he was terrible when he was out there.
No,
That was somebody in preseason that I thought, was doing okay. But I don't want to
I
go into
think
the season with it just being him, Wingo's the next man up. And if DJ
I
Reader
agree.
wants to come back and is willing to come back for like a 5 million, something like that, the thing is that cuts his salary in half. He made 11 million last year, but he'd have to be willing to take 5 or 6 to
Yeah.
come back
Well,
here.
I think you tell him that, and then he's sitting on the bench. That uh that he's not starting. It's Tyleek's job, and you're coming back, and you're going to take up snaps, and you're going to be in there, when there's a tush push, and you're going to be when we go to 5-man line. You're going to have, those are the type of snaps you're going to have. Uh, Obviously, we're going to probably, we're going to have to draft off, line 2. So maybe in the 4th round we get a lineman, right? Was Aleem 4th round, right? Or was he 3rd?
I feel like he was 3rd, but I don't know that.
3rd,
Hang
because
on.
they did Levi and then Aleem, right? So I mean, and we could trade up to the 3rd. I mean, you still could get some line help going into it, but obviously we need more depth. But like you said, we got more free agency coming. I think we'll be. I don't want to get too crazy and worried about it right now, but I am impatient, just like you.
Yeah. Levi 2nd round, Aleem 3rd round.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just briefly. We don't need to go into depth on everything our opponents did, but I just want to talk about whether you think they got better or not. Let's just start with the Bears. We're, the big name that they had was Devin Bush, Kobe Bryant. Those are the big names that they added. Their starting center retired. They traded DJ Moore, and Tremaine Edmonds went to the Giants, and they lost Kevin Byard today. Are the Bears? What do you think about their roster? Are they sitting better than last year? Same? What do you think?
Well, you got to think Devin Bush. They lose Tremaine Edmonds, they get Devin Bush. Devin Bush played decent last year. We're familiar with him from Michigan, so that one could be a push. Maybe they're getting just as much out of it. Lost Kevin Byard, but they get Kobe Bryant from Seattle. You could call that one a push as well. They lost Drew Dahlman, but then they traded for Garrett Bradbury. I don't know that they're necessarily getting better, but I think that they've done a pretty good job of filling these holes pretty much right away, right? I mean, they lost their cornerback, Nashawn Wright, to the Jets. They signed Jedrick Wills today, the offensive tackle, somebody the Lions had met with. So I don't know necessarily that the Bears got better, but I think that they moved kind of laterally. They're still about where they were before. They've done a nice job of plugging up those holes as soon as they're coming up.
Yeah, I think DJ Moore, losing him, I think that's significant. I mean, I know that they have pretty good wide receiver room, but DJ Moore was just a weapon that you had to account for on the field. And I know that he took plays off, and I don't know if I necessarily want him in my wide receiver core, but I he was a guy that he was so big that you could throw a little screen out and he could get 7-8 yards just by running over people. So I'm glad that he's not on the team. Although I didn't like that it opened up. I don't like that they got a 2nd round for him, which I thought was high for the contract that he had. So I didn't like seeing that from a standpoint of competition standpoint. All right,
I
Packers.
thought that was a great move. I mean, I know we had differing opinions about DJ Moore, but they drafted Rome Odunze. They have Luther Burden. I thought it was definitely time to move on for DJ Moore. A 2nd round pick is insanity. I don't get that at all. Great job by the Bears for being able to swindle that out. I don't think that he's going to have very much success in Buffalo either.
I don't know about that. I'm glad that he's not on the Bears, but yes, getting a 2nd round pick pissed me off because that was really good. With his contract, I thought he might get a 3rd or 4th round. I like a 4th round being high, and then they get a 2nd round. I was like, oh my god.
He had 50 catches, 682 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's worth a 2nd round pick.
I know, but the Bills need,
and he was top 10 in passing. total snaps during passing plays, he was top 10 in the league, and that equates to 50 catches.
Yeah. Oh, you got Caleb Williams thrown out there. He's the only 50% completion
Remember,
percentage.
Caleb Williams is supposed to be the truth. He's the Iceman.
Yeah, whatever.
Ask Chicago.
All right, let's move on to the Packers here. The big thing that they traded for was Zaire Franklin. However, they lost Rashawn Gary. Did that trade officially go through? I didn't see that. Like, I
don't know today if that was like official. I haven't heard anything. Now that you can back out of trades.
Yeah, exactly. Now that you could just say jokes.
Yeah.
Eldon Jenkins, center, they lost to the Browns. Romeo Dobbs, which I'm so glad him and his guardian Cap are out of the Green Bay. They're the Patriots, which the Patriots paid way too much for Dobbs. Unbelievable.
Another one I don't get. Yeah.
Quay Walker goes to the Raiders. Malik Willis went to the Dolphins. And then they traded a pretty good defensive tackle, Colby Wooden, for Zaire Franklin, a young defensive tackle. They did replace that defensive tackle possibly with Javon Hargrave today. That was really that's who they added today. I think Green Bay's worse now than they were going in, than when before free agency started.
What player on that list, which one do you think's the biggest, for you to say that they got worse, which one's the biggest loss that they had?
Well, Rashawn Gary is not the player that everyone thinks, but the fact that Malik Willis is out, I think Rashawn Gary is going to be a huge deal. I think Romeo Dobbs actually, it could, especially with Tucker Kraft not possibly come back. Romeo Dobbs was like the safety blanket for Jordan Love, and now he's not going to be there. You're going to really hope those other guys, Golden and what's the other, Christian Rodriguez, right?
Christian
You're
Watson.
hoping that Christian Watson, sorry.
Yeah.
Is going to step up. What's your? I mean, do you want to say Malik Willis? Is that what you wanted to say?
I mean, for being a backup quarterback, I do think that that's a considerable loss because they've had to rely on him the last couple of years for at least a couple starts for Jordan Love, and every single time it's like they don't miss a beat without him. Like Malik Willis, different kind of made a little more dynamic run game or whatever you want to say, but they do not drop off that much when Malik was playing quarterback. And now you don't have that safety net there. I don't even know who else is on their roster. But, Quay Walker, not a gigantic loss. They probably got better by getting Zaire Franklin. But Romeo Dobbs, they didn't use him enough, but he was solid when he was out there. Elton Jenkins, good offensive lineman. Rashawn Gary, like you already said, Micah Parsons is out. So, I mean, you got rid of your other edge guy. That seems weird. Yeah. And, I mean, they re-signed one of their offensive linemen, Sean Ryan. They signed Sky Moore, the Chiefs and 49ers guy. That's hardly anything at all, returner. So, yeah, I don't think the Packers have been doing so hot in free agency either.
Nope. All right. Minnesota Vikings, another team that had to cut a ton of salary. We thought they were going to lose Aaron Jones, but he resigned, right? So he basically just took a big pay cut. It was one guy that I had circled like as a possible Dave Montgomery replacement. They get to keep him. They had some re-signings. They lost Ryan Kelly, who was one of their big signings last year. Center retired because of concussions. They lost Jonathan Allen. They lost Javon Hargrave. They released Harrison Smith today. That may be procedural. He may be back, but 15 years in the league, big. They lost Jalen Naylor. There's rumors of them, being number one on the list for Kyler Murray, but that, as far as I know, he has not signed yet.
I think he's visiting with them tomorrow.
Is he? Okay. Yeah, they might end up being, if you're JJ McCarthy, man, that sucks that they're going to bring in Kyler Murray. Man, that's just the writing on the wall. It means you're done, I think, if you bring in Kyler Murray.
I mean, the thing is, if they bring in Kyler Murray, wherever Kyler goes is going to be on a minimum contract. He's already getting paid from Arizona. Yeah. So, I mean, do they bring in Kyler and guarantee him a starting spot, or do they say we're going to be in a competition? You're a veteran presence for JJ. He's not a very good veteran presence if you're trying to help JJ for sure. Yeah. I mean, the Vikings, the GM really botched the team, but they really botched this JJ McCarthy situation as well.
Yep.
I don't know. Basically, last year was his rookie year, right? He was hurt the entire last year before that. He's trying to make something out of nothing. The Vikings' entire team just did not play very well at all last year. Except in games against us, coincidentally.
But they swept us. So
yeah, right.
Exactly.
That will be painful forever.
Yes.
Never be able to look back on that But anyway, I don't think Kyler makes that team that much better. I'm not worried. I'm not like, oh man, they've got Kyler Murray. Now they're going to be competitive right away again. Not at all. And I mean, you've seen when JJ McCarthy got hurt and when he was out, they had Carson Wentz and they were just getting wrecked, even worse without him out there. You can't put that on the quarterback.
Yeah. JJ just kept getting injured, and that's just not. I mean, they were in bad shape. The offensive line that they signed, they paid a lot of money, and the offensive line was pure garbage for them last year.
Right. And they're trying to make something out of nothing the whole time. The defense was keeping them in games. The offense could not move the ball, could not do anything at all.
And now, they're losing some of their defensive pieces. We'll see, how that's gonna work out for them next year. Hopefully not well. But as a whole, I don't think anybody in the division, I think the Lions are not as good. But, our roster as it sits right now is not as good as it was last year. The Bears are probably the closest, but the rest, everybody else has been downgraded. So, and that doesn't surprise me because everyone else in the division spent a lot of money in free agency last year. And I don't know what these teams are going to do, especially Minnesota. Like after next year, they're going to lose their rookie contract. Caleb's going to have to sign an extension. They're going to be in a lot of trouble salary cap wise. They're going to have to cut. They're going to have to cut pieces. And that's one thing where I could appreciate about Brad Holmes is that, we're not having to have these mass wholesale cuts. We are losing people, and that does suck, but we're not signing big contracts and then cutting them next year. So I'm okay with that, I guess, from that standpoint. One thing I want to talk about before we leave is the Max Crosby thing. Let's talk about that. When I saw that, I thought that was a parody tweet yesterday. I didn't think that was real, and then I realized it was coming from the actual Adam Schefter. That the Raiders tweeted it out. The Baltimore Ravens have backed out of their deal. Like, oh my gosh, it blew my mind that happened.
And then today, the Ravens signed Trey Hendrickson.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible look for them. This is one of those, like I said, I was at work and I had to close. I could not look at my phone for the last 2-3 hours of the night. So anything after 5 o'clock, I don't know anything. So I get out of work and I've got 80 notifications. And then one of them's from you. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it said something about Max or
yeah. I can't remember exactly what I sent you 4, I think I was Rock is back, and then, every text was just getting crazier, but yeah, I can't remember exactly what I wrote. Let me go back and look at that.
It said Max is back, Rock is back, Bridgewater back too, Max is back in the fold. But the most recent one was Max is back in the fold, and I was like, what the hell? What is it? What's going on? So why is this stuff happening while I'm at work?
Yeah, it blew my mind. I could not believe it. And did you see Eric DeCosta? I didn't watch the GM, but he's basic, I had a responsibility to my team. And he's and actually we were thinking of putting Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby together. Did you see that? How in the heck are you going to afford both of those? There's just no way.
Well, from what he said is that after Linderbaum left, they thought that they could get both of them. Yeah. That's what I heard. And, obviously he has to get up there and say, how gutted and how defeated he was that they had to back out of the deal. And, he pictured having both of them there and everything. Because you can't come up there and be like, well, you know what? We kind of had second thoughts, or, we saw that we could get Hendrickson for less money and keep our first round picks. So we really want to back out. There's all kinds of nasty rumors going around, teams don't want to do business with the Ravens anymore. Everybody's angry. Everyone feels that they backed out. Who knows? I mean, the Raiders had doctors, look at him. They determined that he was going to be healthy, good to go before the season started. You'll never hear from the Ravens doctors what they thought, but they just thought his knee wasn't healthy enough or they didn't feel confident enough.
Yeah, I mean, just you knew crazy. That injury was there. I just find it's buyer's remorse, 100%. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. I don't care. That's just what I'm going to believe. There's no other way. And so they ended up getting, like you said, Hendrickson. If I put them next to each other, do I rather have Max or Hendrickson? Max is who I'd rather have. But would I rather pay more for Max and give up 2 first-round picks or have Trey Hendrickson? Probably the Trey Hendrickson thing worked out way better for them. Now you're giving up 2 first-round picks. But if you're the Raiders, oh my God. all of a sudden you've already offered out all these contracts, right? And then thinking that you had cleared like what 35 million, 40 million off the books, and now all of a sudden, nope, you still got Max on there. Uh, they somehow still made it work though, right? They still made it under the cap. They still have Max. My fear yesterday was that they were going to have to rush and make a deal before 4 o'clock today. But that's a good thing for the Raiders that they didn't, because they would have got far less than what was originally planned.
Right. But I mean, if you're the Raiders, you're actually like, okay, you know what? This is not the worst situation because based on how free agency played out, like they got Linderbaum, they know they're going to draft Mendoza. They got, the centers there at quarterback. They got Kwity Paye on the edge. They got Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, the linebackers. They got a cornerback too. They made a lot of moves in free agency. So if the fact they were able to, work out and restructure, do whatever, and have Max on paper, like this team got a lot better. But is Max still unhappy? Does Max still want to move on? How do you do that? And if you're Max Crosby, you made the post, like, thanking the Raiders for everything, thanking the fans, and you're ready to move on and start this next chapter. And now you're right back in Las Vegas. That's weird. Is he unhappy? Is he still like, no, I want out, find another deal? That's still possible. It just seems really weird to me to like, feel like you've moved on. He probably emotionally prepared to move on for so long now. Finally happened. You're finally ready to go. You're excited about Baltimore. And then that's kind of ripped away. And now you're still in limbo. They said he's back rehabbing at the Raiders facility. What kind of like weird ass situation is that for you and for everybody?
Exactly. Like that blows my mind. And from a fan perspective, can you imagine had he been traded to the Lions, like the fans getting all jacked up? We're gonna get Max Crosby, and then we say it's kidding. We don't want him back, or we don't. We decided not to do it. I was thinking about the Jared Goff trade because that's what like the Jared Goff Matt Stafford thing was agreed upon in the before the league year started. So they it was that awkward period where like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes couldn't talk about Jared Goff because technically he was, we knew he was coming to Lions, but technically he was still a Rams player, so they couldn't really comment on another team's player. But how weird would that have been? Like the day before that trade's supposed to happen. Sorry, Matt. Matt Stafford's still your quarterback, and we're calling all this off because we had, we didn't want to give up 2 first-round picks for Matt Stafford. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine. I don't know how passionate they are over there in Baltimore, but Lions fans would be, my God.
Yeah. I mean, they did get a nice consolation prize today, though. Like, if you're a fan, at least you got Trey Hendrickson. Because, like, the way it fell down, the way they did it, it's like the Ravens probably weren't going to sign anybody and, sign anybody because of what, they got Max. That was their free agent spending. And so they didn't get in any of the contracts. They're just lucky that Trey was still out there, like, for that to happen. And Trey Hendrickson had to be so happy when that trade got canceled because he's like, oh, that just opened up the market for me.
Yeah, right. I know. So Jalen Phillips signed for like $30 million a year. So that was the rumor. I think that Hendrickson was asking for 30, and then he ends up signing for a little bit less than 30. So
yeah,
don't know if that's because he wanted to go to Baltimore or they were the first team that called and offered him that much money. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't think Jalen Phillips. I'm so glad the Lions weren't a player at $30 million a year. Would you have given Jalen Phillips $30 million a year?
No, I said before I don't understand that. He was okay. He was okay, but he was not great in Philadelphia. I don't see what other people saw about that and willing to do that. I mean, and honestly, it kind of feels like, well, now he got the bag in Carolina and he's going to be smooth sailing from here. Do you really think he's going to be getting, 10, 15 sacks next year? I don't think so.
I don't get that
and
deal
he's got the
just
injury
blew
history.
my mind.
So what do you
Achilles, ACL, and then you get 8 sacks after that, and all of a sudden you're getting $30 million a year. That's the first week of free agency. That's the kind of crap. Like, I mean, I don't want to be like that. Like, I know that people around here want to get, you want to sign, you want to get the new prize, but that's exactly the opposite of what I want. Like, I'd be really afraid of that contract being really bad, really fast.
Real quick, before I know we're probably not going to go on anything else, but just while we're talking about the edge and everything like that, obviously there's been a lot of movement. A lot of them have signed. Not too many groundbreaking contracts, though. I know we talked about
Right.
Kwity Paye as a possibility. He got $16 million a year. Bradley Chubb, 14.5. Arden Key, I mentioned him. He got $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
Chason went to Washington for $11 million. You know, who was it? Tyrus Wheat left us for 1.7. But I mean, Cam Thomas, 3. Dominic Robinson, 4. Omenahu, 7. Those are all like doable numbers for edge defenders. And,
Yes.
you know, we don't have one right now. And the ones that are out there, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa, Danico Autry, Leonard Floyd, Mike Dana, all presumably going to be expecting to get more money like that. So I know I already asked the question, but I mean, one of those guys is already signed. Would you rather sign somebody like that and be able to get them between 5 and 10? Or do you want to hold out and end up paying Bosa $15 million a year?
I don't think Bosa's who we want. What about AQM? I mean, he's still out there, right? He hasn't signed. Do you think the
Right.
Lions are interested at all for signing him? Like,
Are
do
you
you
going to
think
sign
he's
him
in-
and then just not play him anymore? What do you?
I know.
What are you going to do there?
That's
They're
my
projecting
concern
that
is that they don't-
AQM gets $8 million a year. That's what his projection is at right now. And
Yeah,
he
well,
made
he's still out
1.4
there.
last year.
He's still out there for a reason. If a lot of
He's
teams
probably
wanted
in no
him,
rush to sign.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You want to get it now because my team's got money.
No,
But
yes,
maybe-
but I mean, if a team's calling you and offering you $4 million, I think you think that you're worth 8 or closer to, you know.
Yeah.
Or you see these guys signing bigger contracts that did not play as well as you did last year and don't have the numbers that you did last year.
I think AQM also is going to fall into the fact that, you know, he played opposite of Aiden. He's older. You know, he doesn't have a track record. I don't think teams are going to be lining up to give him a lot of money.
Right.
Also, but if you're AQM, do you come back to Lions thinking, well, I'm not going to, win their scheme, I'm not going to get all the snaps that I should get. Like he, in his mind, he's like, you know what? I can get like 17 sacks if I played a majority of the snaps. I mean, he may think that. I don't think that is. I don't think that that's the way.
Maybe not. There's one way to find out.
Yeah.
I think similar to how David Montgomery felt, where he feels like he's underutilized. He's a little bit older than David Montgomery also. He knows that the last payday is probably right now or fairly quickly here. So I think in his mind, he's already moved on. He's looking for something else. He's trying to, this might be a highest bidder kind of situation. And maybe if he's not willing, if a team's not willing to pay him $7-8 million, maybe he comes back and the Lions pay him $4 million. Give him a little bit of a pay increase and he comes back. I wouldn't hate that, but like I just said, if we're not gonna give him those snaps anyway, then what's the point?
Exactly. I mean, you mentioned Bosa. Would you want to spend the money on that? I mean,
No.
I just don't think the Lions are going to do that, but I also don't think that he's necessarily a fit for what the Lions want over there.
No, I hate Joey Bosa. If he signs Joey, I don't mean it, but no, I do not care for Joey Bosa, and I don't want I think he's older. I don't want to pay somebody 13-14 million that's not going to play those snaps and that's just going to be a rotational piece, like the Von Miller stuff. I don't want to spend $8 million on Von Miller if he's only going to be out there on third down. Cam Jordan is still out there. Cam Jordan's older.
That is the guy
right. That's what I said before. I like the veteran stuff, the way he plays. I think that would be a huge get if we could get Cam Jordan here.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's got a connection with Dan Campbell too, right? Their time probably overlapped, right? In New Orleans, so I would, because he's about what is he 15-year vet or something like that? So yeah, of course their time overlapped.
15 years. Cam Jordan's 36 years old.
Yep. So, and I think that he'd fit over there. All right. Dan said something earlier, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Lovett or keeping Tom Kennedy for our return game? Are you comfortable with that if that's where we go into the season?
I mean, Tom Kennedy did better at returning than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
And Tom Kennedy is now the longest tenured Detroit Lion, so he's been on the team longer than anybody, albeit up and down. I know somebody pointed out on Twitter that Jack Fox got here the same year.
Yeah.
Jack Fox got here a little bit after Tom Kennedy, but Jack Fox has been on the team the whole time, and Tom has been up and down practice squad and this and that. That would be another like underwhelming thing. No, I don't think that would be exciting, or I don't think that should be the game plan.
Yeah,
but I love it. Year 2, we didn't see much out of him in year 1. He didn't have a whole lot of snaps, a whole lot of playing time.
Yeah, and he started to like get put inactive towards the end of the year, which when they start, he's active early in the year and then he's inactive late. Like some of that might be circumstance, but also that concerns me a little bit. Like you're hoping that at some point he's earning some reps at return game or something like that, and that just never happened at any point.
Injuries and different things like that, though, probably made it necessary to make him a healthy inactive. But now, no Khalif, you might, might be able to keep him in there.
Yeah. First thing I told Preston about Khalif, Preston's my oldest. I told him about Khalif, and I was so proud of him. The first thing he said to me, he goes, "Well, it's just more steps for Tesla." And I was like, "Okay, all right, this kid gets it. I love it."
Nice.
I've taught this kid well. Like he automatically thought to the next level, which I was so proud of. So, and I'm happy about that. Like, Tesla could be a return game. Like he is big. Like I don't know if he's got special teams in him and maybe he trained for that in the offseason. Maybe they want to develop that, but he seems like a guy that could, be on kickoff return. He's huge. Like it would be nice.
Agreed. Maybe not so much on punt return, but the kickoff, definitely.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I do like it at the opportunity, Khalif's out of there. That just opens the door up for Tesla to have a good year. I'm really hoping he develops into that Josh Reynolds role and just with more reliable hands. Tesla could be really, really dangerous next year. He could really, if we could open up and get him the ball in space. I want to see some crossers. I know we do crossers with, JMO. I think that Tesla would be really dangerous in the open space too, and he's huge too. It's going to take a lot to get him down.
Definitely, a lot of possibilities. Just get the line that can block and give Goff a couple minutes.
Just give him
a couple seconds.
Couple minutes with his legs. You're so bad on him. He's got to have 2 whole minutes to pass the ball. All right, I got you.
I don't get it. He should be doing lunges and squats and doing all kinds of speed and agility stuff right now. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know. He's running at, well, I know his baby's probably not running yet, but pretty soon he'll be running after his kid, and that's you know how much work that is.
I think he's chilling. He's relaxing. Him and Pet Singh probably talking about the offense and everything, but I don't think Goff is out there with the speed ladder right now.
No,
I'm hoping that he's.
What I want to see is those off-season pictures of them working with the wide receivers, like him and Tesla working together, because I really, really want that. I want that because Goff did start to trust Tesla in the second half of the season, especially late, like the last quarter of the season. In that Pittsburgh game, he kept giving him shots, and I know he dropped one in the end zone that would have won the game, but earlier in that game, he caught one that he got smashed in the end zone and hung onto that for that touchdown. So I'm excited to see what this kid can bring. I know that we gave up a lot, but that's in the past now. He's on our team. We just need, I just want to see how he does and how he develops, because he could be a really dangerous weapon in this offense.
Let's hope so.
All right, Jacob. So maybe in the next week we're gonna have some new players to talk about. Hopefully, it won't be as exciting, I think, the rest of this week as it's been so far. I don't know how it can be with the whole Max Crosby deal, but maybe Max comes to us tomorrow, and then we have to do an emergency pod. I can't see if we didn't go for Trey. Like, I don't know if you saw the report. Like, we weren't even in the teams that like were in the list of. It was like the Colts that I thought they were closest, the Bills, the Eagles. Those are the teams that were, and our name wasn't even mentioned there. I mean, I can't imagine that you're thinking about giving up multiple draft picks for Max if you're not even knocking on the door for Trey Hendrickson, because you're paying the same amount.
Exactly. I think it's the money thing. They're trying to be really smart and trying to, get the best value and everything. So it makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right. Our chat room was great. We have more people in here than we've, I don't know if we've ever had this many at the same time. So, except for when Eric Schlitt was on. So, thanks everybody in the chat. If we didn't get to mention you, I'm sorry about that. We were trying to get through everything in here, and it's almost at an hour and a half. So, we appreciate you guys. And we'll be back next Wednesday, I believe, probably around 8:30 again. Hopefully, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. For Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.